Okay, so next we're going to do our acids and bases lab, and you may have done one of these before. There's many ways you can go about this. One thing that we have different that we've included in your materials is phenolphthalein. Now, I just happen to have this in a little container already that I use, and it works really well. Now, with the phenolphthalein, because there's limited amounts, I always am the one doing this as a demo. So when we start talking about acids and bases, before we ever do this lab, I show them the phenolphthalein because it's like magic. They think magic is happening and they love it. So I use, and I'm going to do a demo and actually show you. So you can go ahead and pan down, Amy, thank you. And so I'm going to show you this part first, and then we'll show you some different ways you can do with using the other liquids with pH. So I'm going to use ammonia, okay, and this is the vinegar, then Windex, and ammonia. So you definitely have, I'm going to show two different bases, and then I'll show you here with the acid. Now, phenolphthalein is a base indicator, so it's not going to show, there's no color change, of course, with the acid, okay? But you want to show that to start with. So what I always do is I'll have these in a cup, and I'll show the students that I'm like, okay, so now you've got your vinegar, and you don't have to use a whole lot, but you squeeze some of the phenolphthalein, and you can use a dropper, or you can put it in a container like this, with whatever works. And of course, you see there's no color change. There's nothing that happens. Okay, next, we'll do the Windex. Now, Windex is a base, and at this time, and like Kim mentioned earlier, you know, I like to do this in my lab as well, where I try to, give them the notes one day, we discuss the information, and I would probably do this on the note date as a demo. But then when they actually get ready for the lab, that would be the next day for reinforcement and to see what they've learned and what they're struggling with. Okay, so you have your Windex, and when you go to put the phenolphthalein in there, you will see, hope you can see that it doesn't show it as well as I wanted it to, the color change there. Let's see. Okay, but if you can see, it's starting to turn purple, a magenta, it's darker, okay? I don't know why it's not wanting to show as well on that, but it is a purple color, I promise, right, y'all? Okay, and then when you do the ammonia, which is also a heavy base, you can see it a little bit better there. Now you can see the pink and that magenta. It's very pretty. And the kids are all like, ooh, wow, that's so cool to them. Okay, and so we talk about how that shows the bases, and again, you have none here. And then what's really cool is then you can show neutralization, and you can show that if you add, and it's best, I'm going to do it with the ammonia because you can see the color change a little better. But if you want to neutralize, if you want to pour the vinegar, I might need a little bit more vinegar.
But you can see it change. Yeah.
But you can see how it goes back to clear because it neutralized.
Yeah.
And they think that is magic, literally. They love it. So it's really a neat demo to show when you start out and you use that you have litmus paper, you have pH paper, and then you have phenolphthalein, which is just an indicator for bases. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'll move this out, and then you can have, what I like to do is go ahead in a cup, and I will have my blue litmus paper and my red, which actually is pink, it looks like, and then the pH paper. And the pH paper you will get these in your kit, so you'll have all three. I like to make it go as far as it can by tearing them into pieces.
Yeah, I cut them in half.
Cut them in half at least, because then it goes a lot further. One thing that I have found that works is you can take the chart that is in the pH paper, and I take like clear tape, or if you want to laminate, and I do a set of them. So what you can do is just have a whole set, one at each station. Last year when we did this lab, we ended up doing, and we have examples of lots of different liquids you can do, whatever you can get your hands on and use. But we ended up setting up like, I don't know, probably close to 6 or 7 different stations that had 2 or 3 different liquids. The kids would set a timer. They would stay there maybe 3 to 4 minutes, and we would say rotate. And they would rotate to the next one. And at each one, they would try For example, we have here coffee. So I'm gonna have my blue paper, which you can, I don't know how well you can see it, but it is a color change because it's an acid. So that changes to the pink color. Okay, and then they would do the red litmus paper, which should stay, basically, it stays the same. And then they would use the pH paper. Okay. And then you would have the chart, and they would set it there to get a number, which looks to be close to maybe 4-ish. Okay, and they can actually write down on the chart for the paper what their changes are. And so you would adjust the chart depending on how many liquids
you have. And there's
Okay,
some questions at the bottom.
and so they would rotate and go to the next station, or you can have everything on one tray and have one station. And depending on, you know, how this year goes, I know at my school I may be moving around on a cart, and so I will have to see what works best as far as how I want to set up stations. So we also have same thing with we have apple juice here.
Water and then alcohol.
Water and then rubbing alcohol. So I always tell the students my favorite, I mean, I like using the pH paper, but I love getting the quantitative data, the number data. And so, you know, like if you here's the pH paper and the alcohol, and give it a little bit to react. And it's about a 6 on here. So you can do those for each one. Anything that you want to add?
Perfect.
Okay, and that is all. Enjoy.